when you're on stage, does the quality of mic matter? Do you go to certain venues and you're like, oh, I got to use this one again, or I got to use...
In the open mic scene, you run into a lot of people that are very DIY, and sometimes their budget is DIY also. So you end up doing shows off of like a little 8-inch PV Rage with a bad microphone. Sometimes it's just better to not use a microphone and talk louder.
Yeah, seriously.
Usually at those mics, there's only like 4 or 5 people there anyway. So
yeah. But I think I would have to imagine that if you have the mic as a part of the shtick, that's got to throw you off. If now all of a sudden there's no mic, what do I do with my hand? What am I doing with my hand?
So I've done stand-up comedy for about 7 years, and there's a lot that you learn in the beginning. Mic placement. I mean, you don't want to talk far away from the mic. You don't want it right up on your mouth. I found actually very recently that if I just kind of rest it right here on my chin, it picks up everything very well. Hard P's, try to learn how to control those. Just like anything, it's a tool, it's a prop. You got to learn how to use it properly, and it takes time. A lot of it, sometimes even recording yourself when you're on stage is a good way to figure things out. Yeah. And it's so hard to look at videos of yourself. It is. But
you get the beard, so you can kind of lean the thing on the beard a little bit.
Right? I'm sure everybody appreciates that. Is that right where all the crumbs fall? Here you go, everybody.
The next comic is like, oh, thank you. Got a couple of little flavor saver.
Yeah. A little scratch and sniff. Microphones are not scratch and sniff. Just don't do it.
I know. When everyone was like freaking out over COVID, was that another thing? Because like y'all got to use the same mic.
They make little microphone condoms. It's like a thick piece of felt that still allows sound to go through. So I'm sure particles, germs, and viruses still get through also. But it's more like virtue signaling.
And you're a dad.
I think so. Not much of one. I try. I'm like on a lease to own program.
You're a jack of many trades. I look at your Facebook because we went to middle school together, but you know what? I don't think that we ever formally met until now. For the most of my life, I've just always been like a face in the crowd. I don't stand out. I don't, fall behind. I'm just there like like an extra on a movie set or whatever. We knew each other, but we weren't like super chummy. So, this is probably really like a first meeting for us, really. It kind of is. It kind of is. And when you said that,
you're a lot better looking than I thought.
You're a very good looking man.
The gray makes me look distinguished.
That's right. And this is many times in this podcast already, we've talked about the beard and a little bit along the lines of, hey, I think it works, man. I think it works.
The beard is the only thing that gives me a jawline. If I shave the beard, my bottom lip goes right to my Adam's apple.
It just goes. It's gone, man. It just goes.
I look like a Bob's Burger character.
But you're a truck driver.
Yeah.
You're a cook.
Was.
I look at that. These are not easy professions.
Well, for many years, about 25 years, I worked in restaurants locally, Berkshire County. Started off as a dishwasher, ended up being an executive chef. And after about 25 years of doing that, I was like, that was fun. Maybe I should make some real money now. And I got my Class A CDL license. And having a kid, being a single father, I can't really travel around the country. But I've been very lucky to get some decent jobs traveling, locally, regionally. So I just took a layoff yesterday with my last job for a home heating oil company. But
so you took they are downsizing.
It was a seasonal position.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now that it got warm, there's not a lot of oil going out.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that's the way it works.
But I balance it out with an excavation company in the summer. So
nice. Okay. So that is good. You're not some like computer consultant. No disrespect to computer, but like you do heavy stuff, man. Like, you were a cook, trucker, if that's the right way to describe it. Yeah, you're a trucker. And but then 7 years ago, you're like, wow, I think I want to get up there on stage and make people laugh. How does that happen? Well,
it was actually a really selfish move. When I got into comedy, I got into it for like the two reasons that everybody gets in it for, women and money. I'm proud to say that today I still have a Tinder account and a day job, but
I have to be careful with you.
Things are going swimmingly.
I'm taking a sip of coffee and I'm going to spit over all my equipment here. So
we should put some garbage bags over it like a Gallagher concert.
But so the first time you went, it was probably at Dottie's, right? Because you were there.
I was working at Dottie's, and they had an open mic flyer on the door, and I was like like 15 years ago, I tried comedy like 2 or 3 times, a couple open mics locally. There wasn't a scene in the area. I was doing it at like MCLA, and someone stifled me. My ex was like, I don't want you telling jokes about me. I just stopped.
Oh.
And then like I see the flyer at Dottie's, and I think they put on open mics there for about a year. And then I found out that there's other markets: Albany, Springfield, Connecticut, Vermont. And we're actually in the Berkshires. We're very lucky to be about an hour away from all these markets. So then I start traveling for open mics and getting into different markets, seeing people that you don't know or aren't familiar with, stretching your legs a little. It's really good for a comic. And one of the reasons why I'm in here today is because I saw your interview with Erica Nolan.
Yeah.
And even she knows that she's got a great show that she hosts down in Hartford, Connecticut. So sometimes you got to stretch your legs and get out of the area to make something big happen.
For sure. And then, looking at the content and the stuff that you talk about, you said you were stifled because somebody said, I don't want you doing that. And so if
my ex didn't want me talking about her, I stopped doing comedy for a little while.
So that's stifling. Looking at that, I mean, because if you're going to be funny and if you're pulling stuff and you're pulling content, for lack of a better term, from your life, because that's really where our best stuff would come from, because it's so personal but it's so real. And that can be the funny stuff. Where do you find it? And then where do you draw that line between, okay, well, I don't want to be stifled, but at the same time, where's the line for you?
Well, luckily there's no stifling anymore. I mean, I'm my own man. I make decisions for myself. And it's funny because sometimes you have to look at your jokes and go, I see comedic value in that, but other people might not. Mostly I draw from my ADD brain. It's like I got a team of writers in my head all the time, just throwing out material for characters that aren't there. And if I can sort of organize that into something that has some cohesion and relevance to it, it turns into a joke. Very recently, like within the past 2 years, I've been leaning into my personal life a little more. Like I said before, I'm a father. I am not my son's biological father, and his mother is deceased. So it's a unique situation that when you take the things that might cause people discomfort or pain in a situation like that, and you find humor in it, it's very cathartic to, reveal that part of yourself to other people in a funny way so that they can appreciate also. Because, that little thing that I just said to you about my son, your face just went, oh, I don't want that, dude. It's unique. And not a lot of other people have that kind of story. So why wouldn't I delve into that? You look so uncomfortable right now. I eat that up. I love it.
I know. I mean, and so you get those people. We were talking with Erica about those people in the front row.
They're just asking for it.
And clearly in your reading the people, and you can see me. Yeah. And it's funny because I've done this for a long time. So I do a little bit of that, but it's a different take on it, as far as reading people. It's so immediate because you have this ultimate purpose. You want them to laugh. But then at the same time, you can also have fun with the fact that people are having different reactions. So if they are uncomfortable, you were laughing at me because you're like, oh boy, you are uncomfortable.
It was visible on your face. It's I mean, I hope the audience can see it. It was great. No, it's it's an interesting process because I would think, like most comics look confident. Oh, you must have a lot of confidence to get in front of a bunch of people and, talk about personal things. And the truth is most of us are very insecure. And this is how we deal with our insecurities. Because if we look at something about ourselves that we don't like and we can get a positive reaction out of somebody else with that, that's a success for us. It's very ego driven a lot, and it's weird because for that moment that we're on stage, we feel a lot bigger than we usually do when we're just walking around the street. And I can't speak for everyone, but for me, that's like a big part of it. Remember how I said I was just sort of like a face in the crowd all the time? Well, now I'm the face in the crowd that everyone's looking at. And that's better than being just a face in the crowd.
Yeah. And I think, when you look at it, and, Erica said this, once you get that first laugh, that's
it's addicting.
it is addicting. And so, I hope you're keeping it healthy, as far as the balance of that, because sometimes you don't get the laughs, right?
You can get crickets sometimes. And, at open mics, it's okay because you're just trying things. If I was told by, a more seasoned comic, tell a joke 100 times before you give up on it, which means just because a room of people didn't laugh doesn't mean there isn't something there. Work with the premise, reword. Are you, leading people in one direction? Maybe you should take the same subject and try to lead in another direction. Constantly as a comic, you're told to find your voice. And even over 7 years, I'm not quite sure what it is. So,
well, it's probably changing all the time. Like you already said, when it comes down to it, you brought the sort of family element into it, the sort of the personal element into it, when maybe in the beginning it was less personal.
Yeah, you're right. Because it was fiction. There was a lot of fiction. I mean, even the stuff that I do now that's drawn from my personal life, it's exaggerated, elaborated. Things are omitted. Things are added. We punch it up, but it comes from a place that's a little more personal now. So, in my recent past couple of months, I just went through a breakup. So we talk about my love life a little more on stage. And I'm just glad there's something to talk about. So, very grateful for all the women out there helping me out with that.
I mean, you get your best content. I mean, songwriters, best content, best songs, jokes, comics, probably. Yeah. Breakups are a pretty solid source of inspiration. Maybe.
Sometimes we choose to keep it private also.
And so the scene in the Berkshires, it's happening, throughout. And I keep walking by, and I have not yet, I'm remiss, I have not yet been to the Flat Burger Society. Mm-hmm. And so that's happening there. Other locations are doing it. So comedy is this thing here in the Berkshires. Actually, one of the reasons why you reached out to me too is like, you had heard that this was news to me, which I presume that means it's news to a lot of people out there, because I'm kind of plugged in a little bit, but I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there who don't realize, hey, there's a lot of options here.
Well, I'm glad to say that I offer 3 of those options. From what I understand, the shows
over the market.
Yeah, from what I understand, the shows over at Flat Burger do very well. I haven't been over there for one of those. I host 3 shows in Berkshire County. We've got the Otto's Uncensored Comedy Showcase, which we had last night. It's the last Friday of every month. Last night I had 4 comics from up north come down. Some friends of mine that I've worked with over the years. I just haven't seen since the pandemic or whatnot. I host another show, which is the first Thursday of every month at the Shire Brew House. And I usually have 2 comedians there with me. I host both those shows. Both those shows are free to attend. So that's a benefit, because usually you have to pay out of pocket to go see some comedians. Last night, with myself included, 7 comics for free. And we had a packed room and lots of laughs. And you just can't beat that. Of course, you're spending money buying drinks and food and stuff like that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you're a restaurant, you just got to bake that into the equation, because when it comes down to it, you're going to be making money when people, the margin on drinks is not small. So if you can get more people in, it's just math.
Well, that was basically the idea behind the Shire Brewhouse show. I mean, Thursday nights were their slowest nights of the evening. The gentleman that manages the restaurant, Matt Motter, is an old friend of mine. Him and I were co-workers together up at Jiminy Peak for many years, where he was the executive chef. And he's like, I know you're a comic. Why don't you come in and let's see if we can get some people in this room. Our first show, there was 12 people. Our second show, there was 40. And the past couple of shows have been full houses, which is about 65, 70 people attending. And always when I get on the mic,
I find a bigger venue soon. I mean, like,
I did.
Oh, there you go.
So on February 5th,
great minds think alike.
On February 5th, we had our first show over at the GEAA, the Tavern at the A. I had a nationally touring comic headline the show. Erica Nolan featured and did a marvelous job. I put 2 other comics on the show, and we had about 100 people in that room, and it was an amazing night of comedy. Again, I hosted, did a little time between the comics. Everyone did their time. And in fact, I had people at the Auto show last night saying, we had no idea that you did shows at Autos. We were at the Tavern show, and we figured we'd come check out here. So hopefully in May, we're going to have another show over at the Tavern at the A.
So tell me how the crowds have been. For me, like, it's like a light switch went off. I mean, there is no, COVID's in the rear view mirror. Yeah. And it seems to me that when I go out to dinner now, and this started, several weeks back, people are just happy as hell to be out.
Well, we're heading into warm weather. It looks like the numbers are going down with COVID. Doesn't mean we have to stop being responsible, but I still mask up wherever I go out. But vaccinated, whatever, nobody's business. But I don't think it's a big deal sharing that information anyways. People are excited. We're getting people in the rooms. They're happy to be out doing things. They're happy to be entertained. It really has been a positive experience since we've been back. We started our shows. My auto show, which is really if I ever talk about my show, I'm usually talking about autos. Luke and Lindsay Marion over there have given me a great place and staff and food to hold a show at. We went for 12 months before the pandemic started, March 2019 to March 2020. And then we came back 2021 in March. And now here we are 2022. So we've done 24 shows over there at autos. And people are happy. People are happy that they're being entertained. People are happy that they get to go out again and congregate and socialize. And I still see people, being responsible as much as possible. But, we're in a room breathing the same air.
Looking at, so you got Luke and Lindsay. I mean, those two are personalities. And do you ever, did they ever find their way in your material at all? Or you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you?
That's a good point. Luke and Lindsay are actually pretty good friends of mine. So they know how to take everything with a grain of salt. I think I treat Lindsay like a little sister, meaning I wish she was never born. And she's great. And Luke is just a saint. He's a great guy. Like I said, we're friends. We have a lot of common interests. So I love those guys. Plus, like I said, they've entertained my bullshit for 2 years.
And that's the thing. I mean, there are a few people out there, especially business owners, who keep it as real as a guy like Luke. I mean, he's about as authentic as it gets.
They sell t-shirts with bad Yelp reviews printed on the back. So I think they got a good sense of humor about things.
Do people buy those?
Yes, they do.
I want to get one of those t-shirts with the bad Yelp. But I mean, Luke, I always thought I'm like, because I come from the world of marketing and PR, and I'm kind of, it's like, don't give oxygen to the bad reviews and all that stuff. Luke doesn't feel that way. Luke doesn't really care about that. He's like, somebody said something, this is ridiculous, and so I'm gonna call this person out and put it on social media. And I don't know. I mean, he has his own effective way of dealing with it, and now has turned it into a revenue source.
Good. It's funny. So working in the restaurant industry for so many years, typically when someone has a bad review, it's not necessarily about what they've been through. It's about how they feel. And we should all get over the idea that anyone else in this world gives a shit about our feelings. But it's a lot of people that love hearing themselves talk, and they want to elaborate on how this establishment has done the ultimate injustice to them. And usually it's just, oh, they forgot to bring my second drink over. So, I mean, come on. It's a busy restaurant. A lot of restaurants are short-staffed. We have to be more patient and more understanding. Even when I go out, I mean, I went out to a restaurant the other day, and I wasn't happy with anything, but I didn't complain. I paid my bill, and I'm just going, I won't go there again.
To go through, because probably at some point, you've left the restaurant, you have to then either pull out your phone, find your Yelp app or what have you,
which none of us could have done 20 years ago,
which you couldn't have. But I don't have a Yelp app downloaded, but at some point find the Yelp website, go through that process, register something, maybe, I don't know, and then actually make the effort to say something bad about someone else. Like, what kind of life are you living if that is
an entitled one?
Well, yeah. But anyway, yeah. High vibes, man. Like, it's just like, you know what? If you don't like the restaurant, don't go back.
Well, that's my thought process. Exactly. Like, I mean, as a chef, when I was working in kitchens, I've had servers come up to me and said, there's a guy standing at the kitchen door. He wants to talk to you about his meal. I was like, that's way below my pay grade. You go take care of that. I don't want to handle that. I don't care. What makes you think that the words about to come out of your face have any type of bearing on what I'm going to do? You're the one guy that didn't like the fish tonight. Maybe you're the problem. I don't know. It's a very arrogant way to think about things. I'd like to think that I've never put out a bad plate, but yeah, I'm sure that's wrong.
Yes. Yeah. We've all not,
I've never told a bad joke.
We've all, at some point not been perfect, for sure. For sure. So, but part of that situation here, so there's a business model here. So you have this little entity. I don't know if you've kind of like created some sort of business out of it, or
working on it.
Working on that. Okay.
I think as much as I love doing stand-up, and I don't think it's anything I'm going to stop anytime soon, I would like to lean more into production. With the show that we put on the GEAA, I put out on the title of a production company, and I'm working on getting that into an LLC, which isn't expensive to do. It just states that this is something, and hopefully no one else steals the name or whatnot.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a fantastic idea. And plus, if you have all the, you'll be picking up equipment and things like that. But it's to me, there's a demand. There's a demand because every time I walk by one of these shows, and I keep saying, I keep walking by these shows. I haven't been in one of the shows or attending one of the shows, but they're packed. I'm seeing pictures on social media and everywhere, and so there's this demand, and I feel as though that people will keep coming back, and that's the thing, because you can do an event and have a couple shows and they do well, and then at some point maybe it loses its luster, but that's not happening.
Well, luckily we've been able to build a lot of steam with these shows. Like I said, the auto show has run for 24 months. It originally started in Uncorked over there in Crawford Square, which was also owned by Luke and Lindsay, and that was like their capacity was 49 people over there.
Yeah.
So once we were staffed and had comics in the room, you only had room for 40 people, which is nice. A room of 40 people for an amateur stand-up comic is really nice. But when we moved over to autos and their capacity is, 75, and then we put 75 people in that room, it's better. Yeah. It's a growing thing. Like I said, working with the A, we have a room where we could have a capacity of 150 people. We put 100 people in there, and that was great. I'd like to get to the point where maybe I could rent out the Colonial for an evening.
Yeah.
Put together a show like that. And it's a process. It's not my priority. I got a day job, but this hobby, this passion has grown over the past couple of years, and I'd like to make it bigger.
And honestly, it's these hobbies that a lot of people have that add an incredible amount of value to what's happening, in our, in our atmosphere, in our downtown, in whatever, this out there in the ether. That's the good stuff. That's the stuff that actually makes character. That's the stuff that makes it interesting.
I'm glad that I get to bring some of the things to downtown Pittsfield that people want to do, that's safe and fun, entertaining. So, yeah. I saw look at Jesus, he didn't just say that, did he? Listen, I was born and raised in Pittsfield. There's a reason why I live in Hinsdale now.
Did you move? When did you move to Hinsdale, or have you been there for just a very long time?
It's so weird. Witness protection just put me there.
Yeah,
it's so close to home. No, it just circumstances, and honestly, it's quiet. It's nice and quiet. Yeah. So that's what I like about it. Yeah. It's a good school system to raise my son in. So
that's cool.
Do you have ADD too? We're bouncing all over the place.
Well,
I see your ADHD and I raise you an H. Yeah, there you go.
You really think I'm ADHD?
No. I'm experienced what always happens when
I'm sure there's a very direct line that I could pull. I can go back and map this conversation, and somehow
it's probably my fault.
That's okay. That's okay. That's what. There's no. I mean, I don't. You know what? What I kind of like about what I'm doing here is I honestly don't know what the hell I'm going to be talking to people about most of the time, because I don't know. Most talk shows are boring.
Well, like I said, the reason I reached out to you is because I saw your interview with Erica. I thought it was great. I think you got a great setup here. Quality production value is nice. I haven't had a chance to check out other episodes yet, but I definitely intend on watching this one.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'll get one listen. I know, at least I'll get the person who's on the show at least one listen.
Yeah, I was watching. Erica posted the episode I was watching, and I was thinking to myself, "Wow, more people should be talking about me." And no.
It's like, wait a minute.
Purely ego-driven and narcissism.
Wait a minute. If I went on the show.
Well, honestly, it's to promote the shows. I love making sure that there's bodies in the seats. Before the shows really get going, I usually talk to the crowd and say, hey, is this your first time on one of my shows, or have you been here before? And it's always, it always astonishes me how the room is broken up, where it seems like it's 1/3 people that have been there before, and 2/3 new people. And I like the idea that the word is getting out and new people are coming in, but I also wonder why the old people aren't coming back. I'm just kidding. Actually, I'd like to talk about the auto show for a second. The reason why that started,
it could also just be, hey, we'll go to the auto show, and then next, whenever the next show is, we went to autos last month, but we need to go to dinner somewhere. It could be as simple as that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, the shows are a month apart, so basically you've got 30 days to plan. There's no excuse to not be there.
Okay, forget that.
Well, the show itself. The show itself really started with an idea and intent of mine. When I first started doing open mics in Pittsfield, started really like leaning into the comedy. There's someone that wasn't so friendly, and so told me that I wasn't going to do comedy in this area anymore.
Really?
And yeah, now I'm the biggest thing here. But it's great because what I did with the show was, my intent was to give good open mic comics, which is open mic comics. Most of them don't ever go anywhere.
Yeah. Like
myself. But they're trying, and they're trying hard. There's a lot of funny people out there.
But they want to talk, but just real quickly, not to like delve into this unfortunate experience that you had, but there is a mentality, and it's not just here. It's a lot of, smaller areas. And that is, there's only so much to go around.
There's enough for everybody.
There's enough for everybody.
There's so much.
And I don't care if it's, restaurants or entertainment or what have you. It's, it's called critical mass. And like, the more that you have, the more people will come, and they'll come from outside the area to come. So like the idea that like, no, you're cutting in on my territory. That is like, I hate that.
Well, let's get some of this right here. One, mentality. It's my territory. No, there's enough to go around. I don't mess with anyone that's trying to do anything else around here. I've had other people mess with me, and I take it as a compliment. If you were doing better than me, you wouldn't be thinking about me. But the show started because I was met with a lot of resistance, and I was never wanted to treat anybody that way. So I give good open mic comics the two things they want more of, which is stage time and money. And, you go to an open mic and there's 30 comics there, you're going to get on stage for 4 minutes. I tell all these comics, you got 15 minutes. If you're having a good time and people are laughing, go ahead, tell another joke. So I'm not restrictive. I'm giving them a stage where they can stretch their legs. What we do over at Otto's is we raffle off a gift certificate to the restaurant, and we have great crowd participation. That raffle always generates $350, $400. And I split that between the comics on the show. I don't take anything for it. So everyone's getting paid pretty decently, 70, 80, $90. That's a big deal for an open mic comic.
Sure. Yeah.
And like I said, I'm only, really grabbing people from an hour away. So for an hour drive, it's not bad when you aren't getting a lot of stage time anywhere else.
Yeah. And plus, either way, you just have a great time at a great location.
Yeah.
And so even, and so you kind of at least reimburse yourself with gas nowadays.
Well, what's happened is this show has gotten a really, really good reputation, and I've been able to bring bigger acts in. So usually I have someone that's touring or working in a region close out the show. They're usually a more proficient comic, and it gives the audience a little more of a thing. I've gotten criticism about having these free shows on the weekends, because usually do open mics during the weekdays and paid shows on the weekends.
Right.
People are buying raffle tickets. People are paying to come to these shows, so they're not exactly free. But we had a whole table yesterday that didn't buy a single ticket, so I told them they were cheapskates for listening. You're gonna get some ribbing for that.
Yeah. So again, that's part of the conversation out there. Oh, so he's having this thing, and people, there's no cover, and it's on a weekend, so he's drawing people in that may be going to my place or what have you. Again, like sort of that that lack. It's called a lack mentality.
Like I said, if the people that are criticizing me were doing as well as me, they wouldn't be criticizing me.
Right.
I got nothing bad to say about it.
We live in an abundant world, folks. All right.
We come from a place of abundance.
Yeah. See,
my friend Buddha Joe says that. Shout out to Buddha Joe.
See, we just got deeply philosophical. See, it's just, we're going everywhere. But that's life.
No, you're letting me lead you. That's what's going to happen. It's like those family circus where the kid just has to go across the street and just travels everywhere around it.
There it is, the family circus of podcast interviews. No, this is it's amazing. And so there's a few people who probably know that whole thing. Again, it's just been decades that you've been in this, and I'll count the years in the kitchen as it as well, because it's you know what's going on in the hub of this community.
Well, a big part of the community is about being present. And I go to these open mics 3 nights a week. I'm traveling to the Springfield, Holyoke, Westfield area. I haven't made my way out to the Albany area in a while, but I go out there Monday nights. I go down to Connecticut, and I book my shows with the comics that I meet. And luckily we have these large markets. I mean, in East or West, I got 100 comics on each side of me that want shows. And I've branched out into Connecticut. And like I said, last night I had 3 people from Vermont and 1 comic from New Hampshire on the show. And everyone was appreciative and happy and did well. The room's happy. The head comics are happy. The owners of the venue are happy. I'm pretty much always miserable, but no, I was happy also. And so
you allow yourself to be happy
in private.
When that happens. Is that the reputation out there? Oh, there's Marby. He's the grumpy guy.
No, I'm quite jovial. You can't be this fat and be angry. No one likes a fat, angry person. Yeah, you got to be happy. You got to have a smile. You got to act like there's always a meal around the corner.
You can be skinny and mean, but not larger and mean.
They've earned it.
Is that? So what's next? You talked about having the bigger venues and doing that. A traveling show maybe that goes to different markets.
No,
keep it here.
As a single father, I'm sort of planted in this area.
Okay.
I've known comics that have booked venues throughout like 2 or 3 weeks, and they've just traveled an area, trying to make it happen for themselves. Maybe when my son's grown, I'd like to do that. I mean, I've got a plan. My son's going to be 15 in March, and he's going to be adult soon. When he's 18, I thought about this a lot. I don't care if he's got a job. I don't care if he's still in school. I don't care if he's ready for the world. The day he turns 18, I'm moving out. And
that's it.
Yeah, well, it'll be easy because all the bills are already in his name. So,
so what's it like raising a 15-year-old here in 2022? He's in high school. I don't know where he's going to high school, but what is that like? Because he's like a little man at this point. I would even say younger kids, 10, 11, 12, they're getting pretty sophisticated about things. But by the time you're 15, he's basically a man at this point.
He's a weirdo. I like to make fun of his mustache. There's a lot of new smells, which is good, I think. I'm not even really sure what he eats. I just make sure there's like water in his bowl, and every now and then I have to buy milk. No, it's interesting. It's funny because you would think, not being my biological son, there would be a lack of connection, but he is kind of like a chip off the old block. He's really funny. He's smart. He smells, like I said. Did I say that? I just want to really drive that point home. Dealing with
doubling down.
It's weird, as a single dad, that's like really just the only person taking care of a child. There's no partner to deflect certain things off of. So I am cooking, laundry, dishes. He's got his chores, but you usually have to ask 4 or 5 times to get it done.
And then dealing with the smells, you can't hand that issue off to anybody else, or maybe you just don't deal with it. You just
as long as it doesn't smell like decomp, I think I'm doing a good job.
and so it's got to be fun because he's kind of
it's weird. He's a weird cat. Like we're learning a lot of new things. We have to repeat things a lot. We're in a stage where like he forgot everything that I told him when he was 12, and I have to remind him now that he's 14 or 15. Every now and then I'll be making my coffee in the morning. He's just out there Winnie the Poohing it, just like a shirt, no pants, and
Winnie the Poohing it.
Yeah,
I like that. You can copyright that. Speaking of coffee, yeah. How's this coffee?
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's very good.
Oh, do you need more?
No, I'm fine.
Go run.
I had a cup at home. 2 cups are my limit.
Like, yeah, okay. Just keep talking. I'll go get the coffee and pour some more. But this is currency coffee. You don't want to plug currency coffee.
We can plug currency coffee.
I
have no horse in the race,
in the coffee world.
Yeah.
What kind of coffee do you drink usually?
At home, I buy a coffee. It's called San Francisco Coffee Company, and they make something called the Fog Chaser. And it's a light roast coffee that tastes like a dark roast, which is why I like it. And it's has biodegradable packaging and pods. It's a Keurig thing, so I tried to like be conscious of all the plastic.
Yeah. See, I don't like the Keurig because I feel like I can taste the plastic or something. There's a taste to it.
You got to clean it.
Well,
about once a month I clean my Keurig.
That would help. I mean, I don't have a Keurig anymore.
Well, so, you got fancy with a French press. I love the French press. I actually have a French press travel mug.
Yeah,
which is weird. You can put the
so you actually drink it out of that, or okay, how does that work? Because you press it and then
use your lips.
When you're, is there like there's a hole that you drink from it after you press it down?
It's the same thing as a French press. It's just it's a travel mug, and you press the plunger down, and the grounds go to the bottom, and the coffee's on top. Which is weird because after you plunge it, you're like, oh shit, now I got to put creamer and stuff like that.
You still have to pour
hot water into the mug. Sorry, I shouldn't.
Okay, but you're drinking it right out of the contraption. You're not pouring it into another cup.
It wasn't made in the 1920s. A contraption. This newfangled these kids with their hoodwinks and their hula hoops and their Dan Fogelbergs. I like to use this contraption after I listen to music on phonographs.
Old-timey radio.
Yeah.
The new contraption.
Yeah. Afterwards, I telegraph
my
that
parents. Word. Come on, don't take that word away from me.
You're just lobbing them over the plate. I got to hit them out of the park.
I love it. Well, that basically, I'm okay. So I'm in the front.
What times I have to wash my laundry down by the river on a rock?
Well,
microphone.
Not
is that what you call this?
Not the Housatonic River.
Yeah.
I set you up, man.
Yeah, that's the only way to wash your clothes. Where now PCBs are deadlier than Tide Pods. I don't know. If they didn't want you to eat them, why are they so delicious?
You know what? Oh, those millennials. Millennials are like balding now. I mean, people still say, "Oh, those young millennials on TikTok or what have you." I mean, millennials are like 40.
Well, it's like when the 20-year-old girls dye their hair gray to give off that sense of maturity. Like guys are just like slowly pucking every third hair. I was like, look, I'm thinning. I mean, I'm 44. I just started realizing like 2 years ago my hair was thinning. So we're really just clutching onto some strands here before it go bald.
You're looking good. Like I said, the salt and pepper, it's where it's at.
Yeah,
it's where it's at.
It hasn't deterred the ladies yet. So,
well, my man, I don't know. Did we miss anything? I feel like, you're rocking and rolling. I feel like you're in, and again, like it's so funny because we never really formally met since middle school, but then, it's not like we were, buddies back then or anything, but like you're in a really great place right now.
It looks good on paper. I'm happy. I mean, like I'm a happy person. The pandemic didn't break me. Life did kind of go on as normal. I work in an industry where I don't come in a lot of contact with people. And I still had plenty of work. The comedy did go away for about a year, but when it came back, it's bigger and better than ever. The relationships I make with other comics are not just professional, but friendly. They're fulfilling. I've got a lot of great friends in the scene. I always try to show my gratitude, come from a place of gratitude, because without these other comics, without the scene, then I would just be sniffing glue. I don't know.
And what is that? I mean, I guess
model glue. That's what it is.
I suppose if everyone is in sort of this group of people who do similar things, there's these similarities. Of course, there's an understanding of what you do as a practitioner, but what is that? What kind of common threads do you see among comedians? I mean, other than the
drug use,
they got to be funny, right?
No. The kind, one of the best things about being a comic is when we're all in a room together, or you hear about the green room, where comics sit while they're waiting to go on stage, and just it's not like talking to an average person. We're all always on. We're all funny and it's great. I mean, my favorite thing to do in the world is laugh. So every night I get to laugh a lot with people that like to laugh also. So it's nothing but positivity. And I really love it.
Yeah.
For many years, I was a musician. I had a few bands, and this is kind of taken over what I do. I'm an inner extrovert. You see me on the street, I'm a little bit more of like a.
Now, that was one thing I didn't see from the Facebook bio, and now I'm remiss. But you are a musician as well. What do you play?
I play drums and guitar. It's been a few years since I've had a band. Metalhead, freaking love to thrash, love to beat the drums. So we had a few bands over the years, played some local clubs, played out of town, but it was never anything the size of what this comedy thing has become for me. But when you're in a band, you're a member of an entity and you're always a solo act as a comedian, unless you're one of those like twin groups or whatever. So.
Or ventriloquists or something like that. Is that a thing anymore?
Ventriloquism?
Yeah.
I mean, you can still be good. I would love to have like a little puppet that could be my, devil on my shoulder, say all the things that, oh, wait a minute, I already do say all horrible things. Yeah.
I guess you don't need that.
I'm a pretty dirty comic. I mean, I don't even have a clean set. I had someone ask me to do a clean set once, and
I'm going to have a hell of a time editing this interview. Just a wee bit. All right, my man. So one more time. So it's once a month. So you have 30 days to plan.
So I'll plug a few things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So on Facebook, I am Jason Marby, stand-up comic. Instagram, Jason Marby comic. We host a couple of monthly shows the last Friday of every month at Otto's Kitchen and Comfort at 95 East Street. And those shows are always free. The first Thursday of every month over at Shire Brew House on Flansburgh Ave in Dalton. Those shows are also always free. If you like my social media or the social media of Shire Brew House or Otto's Kitchen Comfort, you'll see the advertisements. And hopefully we'll have an advertisement soon for something coming up at the Tavern at the A.
Nice. And that's the rule. You have to make me laugh and make me feel really, really uncomfortable and turn me red before you can plug everything. So you accomplish.
Well, my new material is about, no, I'm just kidding. Hopefully I'll see you at a show sometime. Right? You've got a formal invite. So actually the next one at Otto's is going to be a banger.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got 30 days to plan. So let's do it. All right, my man.
Thanks a lot, John.